Welcome to SpanReads, not your typical reads podcast, a 17th Shard series where we reread the Cosmere and are giant nerds about it. Today we will be talking about Shadows of Self. Joining me is Jess.
Hello, I'm Lady Lameness.
Ian.
Hey, I'm your writer.
Rosemary.
Hello, I'm Kaymyth.
And Ben.
Hello, you also know me as Overlord Jebus.
And I am Michelle, and firstRainbowRose. This episode's spoiler policy is full spoilers for Mistborn Era 1, Alloy of Law, and Shadows of Self. Today, we will be discussing the magic and the magic interactions for the book. Where do we want to start? Ian's so excited.
Yes. So, where in Alloy of Law, we got an expansion of Allomancy and Furukami in the form of Twinborns. This book focuses more on hemalurgy. So we have the reintroduction of the Kandra to the series, which are hemalurgic constructs. You put 2 spikes into a Mistwraith and you get a Kandra. Usually those are a pair of tin spikes is the blessing of awareness. A pair of iron spikes is the blessing of potency. A pair of copper spikes is the blessing of presence. And a pair of zinc spikes is the blessing of stability. Those are the 4 hemalurgic metals that steal human attributes. They don't steal allomancy or furukami or anything crazy like that. It's like your inherent strength, like your inherent speed, that sort of thing. In this book, we find out that Kandra don't need 2 spikes to maintain sentience, though they do need them to maintain sanity, as Palm is running around throughout the whole book with only 1 spike at a time, which had negative impacts on her mental state.
Yeah, you could say that.
Just
You know,
a few.
killing people is generally bad.
And she has also figured out some way of using allomancy and furukami, like a spike that grants allomancy or furukami to make a Kandra, which nobody has figured out before this. Brandon has made implications that there is something special about Kandra spikes that make them Kandra spikes. They're not just 2 random spikes shoved into a Mistwraith. Like, there's something special there. What that specialness is, we don't know because Brandon hasn't deigned to tell us.
Yeah, because it's a pair of spikes, isn't it? It's a single blessing is 2 spikes, and we don't know.
We don't even know if they have the same type of charge. They may it may require each of them to steal something slightly different.
Yeah.
They're always the same type of metal.
Yes, they are the same type of metal, but we know that those types of metal can steal different attributes. Each type of metal spike, I think, has different.
Not for these. Not for these are the ones that steal a very specific thing.
I think tin steals physical attributes. Like all the ones that Zed kept in his rings, my understanding was that's what tin spikes could do.
Tin steals senses.
Yeah, so things like vision and hearing.
Yeah, so it's basically iron steals strength, tin steals senses, zinc steals emotional fortitude, copper steals mental fortitude and intelligence.
I do wonder how Palm was getting these powers for herself, because presumably she's using the special spike that she had, but she only had 1 of them, and there's a point in the book where it's talked about how she would have to pull it out, but then fall back on it.
Fall back onto the
on a
spike.
different one.
Yeah.
I don't know if
she had
she
multiple.
only had 1 extra god metal spike, or if there was some way to alloy that particular god metal to different spikes to give allomancy to a Kandra.
The impression I got was like she had multiple of those spikes. She only had 1 in them at a time.
That makes a lot more sense than what I was thinking of. She only had 1 and had to somehow take it out, get the thing, and put it back in.
The logistics on that would be very difficult.
Yeah. In hindsight, your explanation is a lot simpler and makes a lot more sense.
I always pictured it as a yank it out, chuck it, and then garble, like melt into
Dupe onto it.
goop onto it, yeah.
goop onto the ground that she has set it up so that the spike is right there. The goop goes, ooh, there's a thing. Suck, 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 suck back into a regular person.
Yeah, because it's like Kandra are fluid, so it's like as long as like when she goops herself, like she's touching the spike, like it's going to get incorporated.
Yeah.
And give her enough awareness to make a human body.
So it makes me wonder if the thing that turns a spike into a blessing is separate from the thing that the spike grants. Like, could she have gotten a bunch of like Trellium spikes, made them blessings, and then charged them with different powers? Or whether she was able to charge them with powers and turn them blessings into the same time, if that's what's required.
I wonder if it's required that it be like forged, because when you're forging metal, you always have to like a liquid involved, and I wonder if what makes a Kandra blessing a blessing is that you have to forge it and the goop of a different Kandra.
Oh, I thought you were going to forge it in blood.
Well, but Kandra don't have blood, so do essentially that with
but with the spike, I think that's a body, because that totally would work then, apparently.
Intent plays a huge part in stealing attributes. What if it also plays a part in the original creation of the Kandra? You have to be intending to turn this Mistwraith into a Kandra the first time you use the spikes. And that might be why the Kandra are so tuned to their exact spikes. Because you can't even, I don't think you can even switch out a Kandra's spikes for one of the same blessing. They're still going to reject them. So it's very tuned to them, which tells me that there might be something involved in the intent when creating the Kandra originally.
Kandra spikes are like blessings are like attuned to a specific individual. So it's like using another Kandra spikes like without already having your own, which Tensoon does in Era 1. Like he has his spikes, and then he also has Orosur's spike. It doesn't like if he couldn't have gotten rid of his own and just used Orosur's spikes. That would have caused some sort of issue that we don't know.
Yeah.
I'm now curious what would happen if Kandra had a third spike.
I think if they've got the two originals, I think the third one wouldn't have identity problems like the next book kind of goes into.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess why not just give them an Alamancy or Furukumi spike? Wouldn't that just work?
I don't think they do.
But apparently it doesn't.
Apparently it doesn't, so maybe they don't have the right bind points for them.
Well, no, because we see that Kandra can use Alamancy and Furukumi based off of spikes. I don't think the Lord Ruler ever told the Kandra how to make a blessing that grants Alamancy and Furukumi. He didn't tell them the secret process because the Lord Ruler provided all of the Kandra spikes for every generation. He just gave them to the Kandra, and then they distributed the spikes.
And that's why they're scared. Not scared, but that's why they can't really repopulate and create more Kandra, because they just didn't know.
I wonder, like, if one of their people die, are those blessings then just completely unusable, even if they had another Mistwraith to try it on?
That is an excellent question that Brandon has not answered.
Or would that Mistwraith have some of the old Kandra's memories floating around?
Something I wonder with the Trellium spikes is whether it's kind of like the other spikes, I think, where you can only do it once and then it's got that charge and that's it. I wonder if the Trellium spikes, you can use the same one multiple times and change the attribute in it.
I don't see anything necessarily that indicates that, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, and all this talk of spikes, brings some other questions on what exactly did Bloody Tan do to Lessie? Did he stick her with a Trellium spike to connect her to Trell? Did he take one of her other spikes away? Did she even know where her original spikes were hidden? Because we don't know how exactly she got the new ones or what went on. We don't know who found her. We don't know if it was Tan who infected her with Trell, or if someone dug her up later from her grave, or if she was just wandering around upset and someone came and found her. There's a lot that we still don't know as to how exactly she got it. And we don't know, did Tan have an extra spike? Or did Tan have a spike, period, that didn't necessarily grant him power, but caused Trell to be able to whisper to him? Did Miles have a spike hidden somewhere that turned him, that made him so different from what he used to be? There are a lot of questions.
I assumed that when he sees Bloody Tan at the beginning, that was Lessie. That was Plum.
No, Bloody Tan was holding Lessie captive in that prologue. So,
that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about in this book. Well,
no, not this book. Sorry, I was bouncing back to Alloy of Law. I didn't tell you.
No, you're good. But it's an interesting thought of how did she get the spike? I don't. Yeah.
And who else might have had them?
Because I honestly almost wonder if she, looking at how absolutely livid she is about the fact that Harmony forced him back to the city, I wonder if she had 2 spikes in her at the point in the prologue. Was she already rebelling at that point and only going around with 1 spike? Because I don't think that I get the feeling that what it was she was told very early in, send him back, and she was like, no, I won't. I love him. No. And then it isn't until she dies that he goes back. So I wonder if she had stopped listening and pulled out one of her spikes before then.
I don't think so. I think as of the Alloy of Law prologue is like, she was still a quote unquote loyal servant. It's only after that where like she saw like the repercussions, like, because like I don't think she wanted to do what she did, but I think she did it because like Harmony told her to. And then is like the fallout of that is what led her down that path of like Harmony isn't going about this the right way. Like Harmony needs to be dealt with.
And I mean, a lot of what she does all right, what I was about to say needs to wait for episode 4, but I mean, we just don't know exactly what happened when, and there are still a lot of unanswered questions around what happened and how Bloody Tan was able to move the way he did.
We've been discussing the Trellium spike throughout all this because that's what the fandom refers to it as. It's like, this is the silvery metal with like red blotches in it that is described in this book. It's not named, but it's not a metal Harmony recognizes.
And I guess I can get into my little rant here is that at some point it should have occurred to them, because Miles was all in on this whole Trell thing, and the set is connected to this Trell. Lessie/Palm was connected to this Trell thing. Why did it never occur to them to ask more questions about those spikes? Even if they didn't do it at like between books, by the time they started learning things in the next book, it should have at least occurred to them to go, hey, maybe we should exhume Miles' 100 Lives and check to see if there is a weird spike in him to find out whether this influence is messing with us on multiple fronts, because that's what my brain wants to know.
I know, at least for Wax, he very much was like, nope, I'm out. I'm not dealing with any of this anymore. Screw you, Harmony. Screw you, Chandra. I don't want anything to do with you. Yeah, that is fair.
Marcy to check, or one of them should have thought, gee, I wonder if Miles was maybe being influenced by something, because we know that spikes could cause Ruin to talk to people. It allowed a connection between them and Ruin. If the spike is made out of the god metal, then I would think that would forge a pretty strong connection between the god providing the metal and whoever it is shoved into. I'm sure that Lessie had someone whispering in her ear the whole way. Why is nobody looking into that further?
To change tacks slightly to another application of hemalurgy. In Era 1, we knew of 3 hemalurgic constructs. Like, these are entities that don't just have like an extra ability like tacked onto them. It's like they have been physiologically changed in some way and are no longer what they were before. These are obviously the Kandra, like, who were Mistwraiths and became something else. And then it's the Koloss and the Steel Inquisitors, who were human and are no longer. This book, we get some really freaky looking things that are not named in the book, but Brandon has, we refer to them as hemalurgic chimeras. Brandon told us to call them that because that's what he was thinking of them as, but is not technically canon yet, which are created from a single spike from humans into something that is very disturbing. If you see the Mistborn Adventure game has an illustration of one of these, and it's terrifying. But the interesting thing about that is the Steel Ministry during the Final Empire did a lot of hemalurgic experimentation, trying to find new hemalurgic constructs. And they did not find any, even though it's been going on for over 1,000 years, because it's very hard to figure out what spikes are required in the right bind points to create a construct. So the fact that Palm invented a new construct is kind of a big deal.
Someone was whispering in that into her ear too. Someone who knew stuff. This one kind of like adjacent interesting thing, because people are still theorize about whether Mistwraiths survived the Kata Sendra.
Yes.
And I find Melan's discussion of spikes in this book to be, maybe it was this book, maybe it wasn't this book, maybe it was the next one. But I find, anyway, the discussion of her saying that it's why the fact that they don't know how to recreate the spikes is why they can't make new children. Not there aren't any other Mistwraiths for them to turn into new Kandra. They don't know how to make it. And that is an implication that there may well be still Mistwraiths around and the Kandra are keeping tabs on them.
I was really excited to see Steel Furukami in this book because I really want to know more about Steel Furukami, and I think Steel Furukami, this is a speed attribute, so someone who can move very fast. I think it's a very interesting magic, and I want to see more of it, and I want to see villains using it, because I mentioned it's a very hard thing for a hero to fight against, and someone can just break the sound arrow.
Show that. I mean, it really well with how hard it would be to fight against, because they're just like, we think something happened. Oh, somebody was moving really fast. Thank you for watching. You can find us at 17thstar.com for all the news, discussion, theories, and fun you could ever want. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud. You can leave us a review on iTunes. You can subscribe on Facebook, and you can also support us on Patreon. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.